Hello again, everybody. This Thursday, we have another retro episode from way before we started doing this podcast. We did have to sit this week out due to an illness, but we'll be right back at it again next week. So thanks for sticking around, and I hope you enjoy this old episode.
All right. Hello, and welcome to Trashy Boys. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
And today we're talking about 1972's Don't Torture a Duckling, directed by Lucio Fulci. And I almost knew nothing about this movie beforehand. I think I've heard the title maybe a couple of times, but honestly, I saw the title not too long ago when it was on sale during Halloween, and I'm like, that might be something interesting to talk about. That's something that would fit in the parameters of what we talk about. So, Nathan, what's been your experience with this movie beforehand?
I just kind of knew the title. I heard about it in college, actually. I took a class on slasher film history, and this came up because it's very early in kind of the development of that. And yeah, it's just been on my radar for a while. I just never got around to it. I know Lucio Fulci because he is like a horror director mainstay. He made like New York Ripper and that zombie movie.
He made that
2.
movie?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he just makes like gross horror movies. Which this isn't on the same level of gross, but we'll get into that. But yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, we should definitely talk about New York Ripper one day.
I'd love to. That's on my watch list.
But I guess this is a good time to talk about Italian giallo movies because this is our first one. Mm-hmm. So, basically my only experience is just Dario Argento movies. I've seen Suspiria, I've seen Cat of the Night, Tales, Birds with the Crystal Plumage, and Opera, things like that. I mean, what's been your thoughts of Italian giallo movies?
I love giallo films. I think they're super cool. Just super stylized. And Dario Argento, saying that's your only experience, I mean, he's one of the best. Dario Argento is just really cool. It's super stylized. I think that's what's interesting about it, because what was giallo would slowly leak into what American slasher films are, which I think everybody I know it's weird to say this, but everyone grew up with slasher movies. And it's really cool to see like the precursor to all of that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to really kind of understand, like, in American subculture, there really wasn't these real life, like, type of monsters. It was all these very Hollywood, Universal type of monsters. So you never really could get the sense that humans could be their own type of monsters. So, which I think, like, one of the first times I remember a subject being tackled like that may have been Peter Bogdanovich's movie Targets. Have you seen that?
No, I've never seen it. Which this is maybe a movie we should watch at some point.
I definitely think so. But just a brief summary of it. It features Boris Karloff, who is famous for portraying Frankenstein and other really famous horror movie type characters, and he's kind of juxtapositioned with this real life killer that's in this movie too. So it's kind of like old horror meeting new horror.
And then, they didn't even know what was coming with Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah. And this movie predates Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes, it does.
But no, my experience, like I said, I always love the different type of colors, filters they put on it. They really do play around with it. But I will say, like, there's almost like this really a lot of the characters in these type of movies are really unnatural to me, if that makes any sense. Like, they don't act like regular human beings. It's not like they're acting crazy or whatever, but just the way they speak and their speaking patterns, it always just feels so bizarre to me, just real alien-like.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to Italian filmmaking techniques at the time, which was, let's not record the audio because we're getting a bunch of actors that speak different languages, and they're going to speak their own languages, and we're going to just dub it later. We'll just dub it later. And I think that adds to an unnaturalness, and maybe like they changed the script and it just doesn't quite fit the words. It's the problem that all these movies have, even like Good, Bad, and the Ugly, which was my first movie that was dubbed like that. And I remember being a kid and being like, what the hell am I watching? Why is it like this? It's dubbing. it sucks that it's such a huge part of Italian history, but it does it's always a little jarring, right? No matter what.
Yeah, and I guess for like an actor, when you're on the set and you're speaking English or speaking Italian, and then the guy in front of you speaking Portuguese or Spanish, and you're having like this conversation, but you don't really know what each other's saying, so you kind of have to react, even though you don't know the exact words and the exact word cues. So I can understand how maybe that gives you like, it doesn't look quite natural, because that's what happens in this movie. Everything is dubbed, so nobody's lip movements match at all.
Yeah, I guess little fact I read was that none of the main actors are actually Italian or were speaking Italian. It was like Portuguese, English, German. It was a whole mishmash of languages. And just like you said, I don't see that being a very good working environment. I know if I'm not an actor or anything, but if I was an actor, that'd probably be tough to act off of a group of people that I do not know what's going on.
Yeah, but it's up to time. You're working with your work. You're working with what you have. And like a lot of these different Italian movies, they were getting like these unknown actors that maybe weren't as famous in their own home country. So it was just kind of like, whatever resources we have, let's just make a movie.
Exactly. Yeah, we got people. Let's just film.
Which,
let's. I think we should hop right into "Don't Torture a Duckling."
Yeah. So it usually how these movies start, there is a murder that happens, and there's been a series of these children being murdered, and the town is kind of looking to figure out who is the killer, and there are some suspects. People are acting very sus.
Whoa. Yeah, we're really selling it to the young kids on this one.
Yeah. So there's at least 3 sussy bacas in this movie. And
An imposter might be among them,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, I really love like the tone of the movie, and the tone really sets itself very quickly, because there's a woman, you don't know who she is, and the first scene is she's unearthing this little skeleton that's obviously like a baby skeleton.
Yeah. I think what kind of drew me a lot to this movie was this element that it was children being killed, because you don't see that a lot in movies in general. That's something that things like stray away from, is murdering, the death of children and all that. So seeing that little skeleton, I even think even if it's a little dated, it's still like, oh wow, that's crazy to see that. You don't really see that.
I know you really wouldn't get imagery like this in any other type of movie at the time in America. No. And I mean, because like we said, new horror is just kind of like in its infancy, and it doesn't really know what it is. So you're just the thought of like these children being murdered is not, you would never see that in a movie in America like that. And
no.
And, we actually do spend a little time with the kids beforehand. So it's not like these random kids that are dying. No. It's these group of friends. They're in church as these little altar boys. And I think they grew up in, I was going to say they're in an orphanage, but no, they do have parents. But they do spend a lot of time in church, and they're really big friends with the priest that's there, who's like a younger type of guy. So he relates more to them. But each time they slowly are dying off, and the suspects are becoming a lot more clear. And there's a lot of red herrings in this. There's
a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they think like, okay, here he is. Here's the killer. But you're like, nope. Not who you suspect.
No. Which I think is really, I don't know. I guess I never found it too predictable. Well, I guess I read kind of a plot on it, and I had it figured out, but I think it does a good job of having good twists and turns throughout.
Yeah, and you really don't know what you're going to get from a movie like this, because they could go the really obvious route, like this is the killer, like it just they point it out to you, but. So I guess because for a movie at the time, you never know what you're going to get. You don't know if it's going to be, this killer is going to be super obvious and they're going to play into that, or they're just going to go the route where it's somebody you least suspect. So I'm glad it wasn't so obvious. And actually, I mean, there are multiple red herrings. So after the first red herring, at first I did think that was the killer, the second suspect in this.
Yes, yeah.
And I thought, okay, Okay, this is the killer, but nope, wrong again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. Lucio Fulci did a very good job with, I don't know, keeping it twisting and turning, especially with like characters, because there's characters that you would assume, well, like you said, everybody's being sussy bakas, and
Yeah.
there's, because from right off the rip, I this scene is a really uncomfortable scene, but it's the scene with a lady who's topless and the 10-year-old boy's there, and like she's like, oh, you wanna fuck me, don't you? You're full of shit. Like,
I know
yeah,
that. I just you think of something like that. I mean, I know sexuality is not really a big deal in Europe, but you think like a little boy and an older woman's
yeah,
like basically seducing this child, and
yeah.
it's a really uncomfortable scene.
It is. So it's already got you thinking like, this is already a little suspect. You know what I mean? This lady's being a little weird. But I guess another fun fact: Lucio Fulci had to go to court for that scene, and he had to tell everybody that no, the little boy wasn't there. It was a little person acting. Don't worry.
Oh, I really didn't know that.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Because the way it's shot, it's the topless girl. You only see the topless girl or him, or the back of the little boy, and when it was the back of the little boy, it was a little person. So they didn't put him around a topless woman.
Which I hate to say, it wouldn't have surprised me if they actually did put a topless woman in the same room as a little boy.
This is during the time Italian filmmaking. They didn't even have like God, what do you call it? Anything to protect animals in their shooting, so they would just kill animals in filming.
Well, and they show that in this movie because there is a scene where a little boy gets these rocks and he's just shooting live rocks with a slingshot at these lizards, and all these lizards are just being smashed.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow. You realize what era you're watching when you see stuff like this.
Exactly. And it sucks too, because I seriously don't think an animal should die for a movie ever. I think that's just not for any art. No animal should die. That's just like messed up, even if it's a lizard.
I mean, even in big Hollywood movies, that's what would happen. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
And the most famous example I could probably think of is Apocalypse Now, where they actually sacrifice a real cow and they just show a cow being sliced up and decapitated.
Yeah, actually, I watched a movie, Mondo Cane. You know, that's was big then, the Mondo movies, and those just showed like, it's like Faces of Death. You know, they show murder and death and stuff like that, but they also showed like animal abuse and stuff. I don't know why. This was a thing back in the day.
I know, and it's so hard for me to watch that type of stuff. I cannot. If I knew that. Anytime I see like a real animal being abused, even fake, even though when I know it's 100% fake, it's still really hard to watch.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, the town is sort of investigating, and the thing I thought was the thing I was waiting for, which is honestly a little bit of a drawback for me in this movie, was we don't really get a main character in this movie until like the last third of this movie.
Yeah, it definitely it trades off a lot. I actually found this movie, maybe I just need to rewatch it again. I found it a little hard to follow personally. I sometimes the plot wasn't going in a very clear direction for me, enough to really like understand sometimes what characters were motivated and like what they were doing. Personally,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, should I be invested in the inspector or the journalist or the police officers? Like, who should I be emotionally invested in? Who should I care about their plight? And then we find out the journalist is like, oh, he was the main character, really, because he's the one that figures out what's going on.
I also think, well, we already spoke about this, but the dubbed voices are really bad. The little boy, one of the main little boys, is definitely just an adult doing the voice. I found that very distracting.
It's not great, and the dubbing is very distracting. I'm constantly aware of it, and even though the movie is subtitled with English because everybody is speaking Italian on the dub, but it's very distracting reading that because you just hear like these unnatural voices. Because I do like, when you do read ahead, I do like watching like the characters' mouth movements and getting that emotion, getting that emotional reaction. So when you see something that's completely unnatural. It's just like, this reminds me I'm watching a movie right now.
Yeah, because you're not sucked into it properly. You're not like completely invested into it. There is one character that does pop up, Francesca, who is basically the town crazy lady. I do really like that character a lot. She's just very bizarre, you know. I think that actress, I don't know her name off the top of my head. I think she does a good job.
The witch.
The witch, yeah.
Yeah. That she's probably the best part of the entire movie, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's the only one like you actually feel like there's this big emotional connection, because she goes through a lot throughout this movie, and there's one scene in particular where you're just like, ooh, like I don't want to see that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. And I guess there is a point in the movie. This movie's a very early example of horrible things going on with a pop song playing. And I don't know how you felt about that scene. It was really off-putting to me, because I don't mind that. I don't mind that trope of like, oh, I'm watching a murder, but there's like a happy song playing. This just felt really out of place compared to the rest of the movie.
I think when you see stuff like that, and you need to have like kind of like a really ridiculous tone, like if you're going to do something like that, and this movie is 100% serious. They're not trying to go for this really crazy tone. And that scene does happen. You're like, oh, why go with that? But I guess they went for a specific reason, but no, I don't think it was the best choice either.
No, but I guess they wanted to add some kind of style to it. I don't know. Interesting.
And explain to me too, though, why is this movie broken up into parts? Why in the middle of the movie they're just like, oh, end of part one? And because this is not a long movie, it's about a regular length. It's regular length, and then all of a sudden it's just like end of part one.
Yeah, I don't know. I seriously don't know. It's bizarre. I watched another. I wish I could have that example, but I watched a movie recently that had an intermission, and it was only like 2 hours long, which I found weird. But yeah, I don't know, because usually when movies are in parts, they're more than 2 parts, right? It isn't like end of part one and then it plays the next one. Usually it's like, I think of an act structure, like a 3 acts kind of deal.
I mean, if it's going to do that, or I just imagine like those old grand epic type of movies that are like 3 or 4 hours long, where they would have to put in an intermission just to give people a chance to. Yeah, because it's like, oh, this 3-4 hour long movie, you have to give them at least a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But one other thing I noticed too, which there is a fight scene towards the end between the killer and the people that find out who he is, and when they're punching and kicking each other, it's these kung fu sound effects from like the old sound, like 70s kung fu movies, where it's like, and it just sounds so ridiculous.
Yeah. I even wrote that down. That is like that's just so silly. Also, there is a part where I'll say this just for the sake of spoilers, but somebody falls off a cliff, and like their face gets ripped by rocks on the cliff. That was insane. Like I had never seen anything like that.
It was good, but the one negative I will say about this movie is has some of the worst looking dead bodies I have ever seen in any movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like the dead child in the water. That looks kind of like a mannequin. Just like really bad.
It looked horrible. That one in particular, it looked like a ventriloquist dummy.
It
did. Like the mouth was like agape open. The eyes were look like they're made out of wood, and the teeth look like they're plastic. It's so weird looking.
Yeah. God, I want to know what the budget was on this thing. I don't know. Because at one point it does feel big, like it would have a lot of money, but some things feel so cheap. I don't know.
But we've given we've given a lot of negatives for this type of movie. But I will say, like, a lot of the positives, though, I really love the tone that they set. There's a lot of this occult type of stuff in the beginning, where it's like there's somebody working with voodoo. They're burying like the little voodoo dolls, and you think that's what's going on. The music in it is really good. Like there's one
Yeah.
scene where they're playing with the pan flute, which was
Mhm.
really good. I really like that a
Yeah,
lot.
the composer is Riz Ortolani, who worked on a lot of giallo movies at the time. Actually, one of the songs in this is he reused for Cannibal Holocaust, which I know is a movie that's very controversial, but the music in Cannibal Holocaust is very good.
I will
Yeah.
take your word for it because I'm never watching it.
Yeah, understandable.
But so when we watch these type of movies, you're not really watching it for the acting. You're not really watching it because you love the characters so much or the story even. For me, I love these type of movies because of the tone it sets.
I totally agree.
Yeah, you're not going to see anything amazing, but you're going to get that experience. Like I said, you feel like you're in this little small town. You feel like you're part of this experience of these murders, and it kind of you know something really bad's happening, and it gives you that feeling each time.
Yeah, there's something about it with these types of movies where you can suspend reality to some extent, and as an experience, it's just fun. I don't know. Don't Torture a Duckling. I came out of it like, I had a good time. I have a lot of negatives for it, but it's more of just a time and era. That's just the way these movies were, and it's a good time. It's like horror movies are one of those genres that it could be really bad, but you still have a really good time with it. And that's what I would say about it. And not saying this is really bad. It just has bad elements, but it's something it's like, no, it's just a part of the movie. I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any fan of giallo movies would ever be disappointed by something like this. It fits right in line with a lot of the other ones I've seen where, no, I'm not blown away by anything, but it puts me in that mood where I want to feel something like this. I want to feel like there's like this uneasy tone when I'm watching a movie like this.
It's definitely tone and mood over any kind of like I guess not coherent plot. You know what I mean? Like a plot that's basic, it's easy to understand. It wants you to feel something instead. And it does. It makes you feel. It has a tone, a good tone. And we didn't mention the Donald Duck cameo. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
I my one of my notes in here is, oh my God, Donald Duck was the killer the whole time.
Yeah. Sorry for the spoiler, but yeah, Donald Duck ends up being the killer.
Which that is distracting. I mean, I know like that's like, but they kind of play it off like, oh yeah, like we didn't like I bought this little girl a doll and they had a duck there and they say it's a duck, but it's literally a Donald Duck doll.
It's just Donald Duck. It's so weird. I know things are different with copyright and stuff. They were ripping off movies left and right over there, but like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah, well, because there's one scene where they find like the Donald Duck head because they're looking for the little girl and they find a Donald Duck head. And so you just see like a headless Donald Duck. Like,
yeah, which I guess that's where the titles comes from, right? Don't torture a duckling because of the duck, and also children die. But yeah.
Well, no, it's the ducks. It's all about the ducks.
Yeah, true. All the ducks.
Oh, now I know what the title Mighty Ducks meant. It meant the kids were strong.
Oh, no way. No way. Mighty Ducks isn't about ducks? I've never seen it. I don't know.
But that's my biggest gripe with this movie. There could have been a little more ducks, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. But it has the duck, the big one,
the most famous duck. Yeah. You're right. I cannot argue with that. But I definitely. I mean, for horror fans, I recommend it. It's definitely something I think you'll enjoy. I mean, it's nothing amazing. Don't get your hopes up. But if you're looking for something to kind of put you in that uneasy, or you're looking for a good mystery, check it out.
Yeah, totally agree. It's a recommend for any fan of older horror.
Yeah, and because the mystery is pretty much the main plot point, I don't think we really feel the need to get into it. So
yeah, I don't want to, and I think that's one of the more interesting elements about this movie. So yeah, I definitely recommend seeing it, getting that mystery. Don't read a plot synopsis; just kind of go in with maybe what we gave you.
Yeah, and if that one interests you, or I check out other giallo movies. They're really good movies.
Yeah, we talked about Argento. Go see Argento movies. He's wonderful.
But I think that's it, unless there's anything else you want to add, Nathan.
No, that is everything.
All right. Well, Nathan, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, I guess a big announcement for the show to get everything started. So Ryan, we are on the final Trashy Boys, right? This is the end here.
You are breaking up with me?
Yeah, I'm breaking up with you. And I'm moving on to something called Drive-In Double Feature.
Can I come?
Yeah, come along. It's fine.
All
yeah,
right.
join
All right,
in.
Good.
Yeah, no, we're breaking off. We're gonna start our own little thing. Drive-In double feature. I'll make sure that gets made, and I'll post a link to it in the description of this. Please like and subscribe as we get that started up. Yeah, Drive-In double feature. We'll be talking about even more of these. And up first is Communion from 1989, starring Christopher Walken. It is wacky.
Oh boy, is it.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
I can't wait either. We'll see you guys over there.
Sounds good. Can't wait.